All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to your first 60 days launching a business in the AI era. Step into the future of entrepreneurship with this session designed for aspiring business owners navigating their 60 days in the age of AI. Today, we'll discover how artificial intelligence is reshaping everything from market research to customer engagement and how you can harness its power to build smarter, faster, and more resilient ventures. We're excited to be joined by Werner Muller, who brings expertise in AI-driven entrepreneurship to help new businesses owners launch successfully. And with that, I'll hand it over to Warner. But just one quick note, if you're wondering about the small uh, size of the meeting today, there's news that the AWS servers have crashed, which has affected the Eventbrite servers. So that's why a lot of people can't join us today. But I will be recording this session. So for anybody who might have missed it, I'll send it directly to you guys via YouTube and the Hub NS. But yeah, thanks a lot. And I'll hand it over to Werner now.
Oh, thanks, Aidan. Hi, Marsha, Crystal, Ellen. Let me first check. Can you all hear me and can you all see me?
Yes,
Yes.
can see and hear.
Ellen,
Yeah.
you good? Crystal, you good?
Yes.
Okay, Marsha, you good?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
Okay, lovely meeting all three of you. As Aidan said, we had 31 registrations. AWS, the Amazon service, global service that runs some very well-known global applications, are down since this morning. And the Eventbrite page through which people join is also down. So I actually enjoy working with a smaller group than 30 people. So I think this this should be very interesting. And it also allows each of you, hi Tina, it also allows each of you to really just, if there's something you want to talk about more, or you want to understand more, or you're not sure, or you disagree with, or you want to challenge, just raise your hand, and we can talk through it. We will have the time to do that. Now, a little bit of background about myself. You can hear I'm from away. I've been in Canada 8 years. I'm from South Africa originally. And I've been working with entrepreneurs, startups, for the last 25 years. I also have my own business, and I work with many, many entrepreneurs, helping them start their businesses, build their businesses, etc., etc. So when I take you through those slides today, the purpose of the webinar is to provide you with not just something that is, there's no textbook theory that you will find, or buzzwords or concepts that rings true but doesn't really help you to get something done. The process that I'm talking you through today is actually exactly the same process that myself and an experienced founder is using for him to build his third startup business. So it's not based on theory, it's not based on fiction, it's not based uh, on learned knowledge. It's based on real experience, practical experience, and what works and what doesn't. So before talking more about that, let me get going and let me give you an idea in terms of what we are going to talk about today. So it doesn't really matter, well, it doesn't matter if you're an experienced founder, entrepreneur, or business person. When you start your business, your first 60 days is always messy. Uh, in fact, I can guarantee you that it's going to be messy and frustrating and challenging. It's also super exciting. But the one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't fall prey to that you establish as much structure as you can to limit the amount of messiness or frustration or the time that you waste in getting your first customers and getting your business up and running. So first thing first that we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through only 4 priorities that you need to focus on the first 60 days. Secondly, I'm going to talk about how you, as the owner of your business and the brand of your business and the voice of your business, should anchor your approach to AI. It's an interesting 2, 3 slide section. And the reason why I talk about this is that it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't even matter if you're a software developer. People still feel unmoored when it comes to what is AI, what is it going to do for them. There's so much noise and hype about AI. I feel forced into using it. I'm not sure how I feel about stuff still when it comes to some of the AI conversations. I will then take you through the required tech stack that you need. Now, this sounds very complicated. It's not. There's a few things that you will be familiar with all of the components, not just a few. You'll be familiar with all of the components. My focus is going to be on how do you use these components and integrate these components as a set of tools to give you the best results in the first 60 days of your business. Then also some of you would have seen articles about the internet is dying, etc., etc., etc. What this alludes to is that the way that people search for things, Google search, Google ads, search engine optimization, how you make it possible for people to find your website, is impacted by how large language models, AI, look for information. It's important for your business, doesn't matter what size it is and what type of business it is, that you start building your business to be searchable and findable by both Google and by large language models. I'm then going to take you through how do you find your first paying customers, how to build customer intelligence, and we're going to conclude with two. So all of this will then feed into two simple systems that you need to have in place within the first 60 days of starting your business. Okay, so let's get going. So, what are the first priorities that I believe you should focus on when you start your business? The first thing first is you need to sit down and write out your personal AI manifesto. It sounds easy, it sounds logical. It's not a complicated process, but it is a deliberate process. And it helps you filter how you use AI, and it provides you with a framework. I'll talk about that in the next few slides. Secondly, the next priority is you need to be sure that you have your minimum viable tool tech stack in place. That will help you build your business. With that comes use of AI, and with that comes your role in using AI, something that is called human in the loop or human AI augmentation. The third priority is to validate. So far you've done a lot of guesses, you've done your homework, but now you need to actually validate. You need to find your first paying customers. And the priority is first on learning, then selling. After you've done validation, after you've moved from guessing to knowing, you then need to systemize what you've done and what you've learned. And this will feed into two simple systems that will help you build a successful 60-day business. Everybody good so far? Any questions? Any clarifications? All good? Yeah. So the first thing first is let's start by why you need an AI manifesto. So when we talk to people about AI and using AI, the natural reaction is that we talk about productivity, we talk about AI as a tool, how it can help you do things faster and more efficient. That's true. But when it comes to AI and what comes first, before it comes to being a tool, it's not so much having a technical understanding of what AI is. It's about recognizing how people, you, customer, society sees and feels about AI. It's more about the neuroscience and the emotions that matters. Whoever you are going to start selling to, remember, they want to sense where you stand in terms of how you use AI, and they want to sense where you stand so that they can trust you. Which brings us to a critical question that you need to ask yourself, and this is why I've developed this slide, is as a business owner, brand and voice for your business, how much and what type of cognitive offloading will you, your business, and your brand represent? It sounds like a simple question, but remember, our brain is wired to work in a certain way. And today, your brain, my brain, Aidan's brain, needs to deal with 12 times the amount of information than what people had to in the 70s. Our brain copes with that amount of information by offloading heavy thinking tasks. It does that naturally. So you need to retrain your brain and not fall prey to inadvertently offloading too much to AI in the first 60 days, because people will sense that and it will impact how they understand your value and trust you. So, in understanding how you look at AI and communicating how you plan to use AI, there's two critical implications. First, it's not just simply about offloading tasks to AI or not. It's to decide what you want to offload strategically, and you know your brain better than anybody else, so that you free up your brain for the high-level strategic creativity and judgment work that works for you and that you enjoy doing and must do as part of starting your business. And secondly, the second implication is the way you engage or interact with your customers need to be meaningful. It's an overused word, but it needs to be meaningful. Otherwise, you simply become part of the noise or AI slop. And all the indications are that AI-driven engagement are being viewed as being of lower value. So, a simple slide, it explains to you how to look at AI from a bigger picture. It helps you understand how you need to think about it before you get how to use it, and also why people feel uncomfortable by it, unmoored by it, and uncertain about it. And part of what you need to do as a founder of your business in using AI in that first 60 days is not to exacerbate those feelings or, or, or become part of the noise and the hype. So, how do you avoid cognitive de-skilling, and how do you use AI powerfully? How do you communicate where you stand? How do you use it, etc., etc.? So, first thing first, and it's going to sound very logical, but it's incredibly important that you actually do this. The first thing first is you need to develop your personal AI manifesto. Being an entrepreneur myself, in the knowledge industry, when AI became a reality, a number of things happened. I became super excited about what it can do, what it could help me doing, and how it supports and facilitates and even strengthens what I do. However, I also soon learned that AI can also be distracting, it can be overwhelming, and it can actually be less. It can actually reduce productivity and efficiency. It also reduces the value of the work that you deliver or that you do. People can spot it. However, I know this. For me to start using it in a disciplined, structured manner, first things first is to write it down. Otherwise, I waver. Some days, some weeks, I'm better than other weeks. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff to do and I forget about it. So, first step first, in your first 60 days, is write down your AI manifesto. There's many examples online, but it needs to include the following. What is your purpose over automation? Just because you can automate a task doesn't mean you should. Always ask if it serves your core purpose. Secondly, human in the loop. You are and should always be the final decision maker. Number three, use AI to understand things better, not just to produce output faster. If you can use AI to help you learn faster and leverage your learning, that's the best way you can use AI. You need to have integrity in how you use data, in what kind of data you use, in how you present data, the kind of voice that you use. Don't let AI dilute your unique voice. This future-proof your brand. As an example, you can hear from my notes and the way I talk, English is not my first language. I could easily have asked AI to write my notes and it would have been in perfect English. But you would have seen straight away that it doesn't come from me. It doesn't talk about who I am. It doesn't share my experience or a subject that I'm passionate about. It's just something that I do. And that's the danger if you don't have an AI manifesto. And the last one is use AI to use your own thinking, not just to save time. So, action step. You might be thinking that I already have an AI manifesto in my mind. I've already made up my mind how I want to work with AI. I know where I stand with AI. However, recording it or writing it down makes it real and helps you stick to the discipline. Otherwise, it's very easy. Remember what I said about how your brain operates, to get pulled in or to increasingly offload, but to do it inadvertently and without realizing you're doing it. You also might want to think of publishing your AI manifesto on your landing page or website. It clarifies things for people, and many people, if they can't sense it, would want to see it or would want to know that you've done something like this. Next slide. Any questions so far? Aidan or Marsha, you good?
Good here, thanks.
All
Okay,
good.
Ellen?
All good.
Okay, Crystal. And Tina? Okay, which brings us to... Okay, sorry, just checking. Which brings us to our next task. If your manifesto is where you stand, your human in the loop or human AI augmented intelligence is how do you work with AI? Think of this as creating your own standard operating procedure in terms of how you actually use it in your everyday business operations. And I've used a very simple example on the slide deck about how human in the loop and how your AI manifesto feeds into how you apply it operationally and practically. I used a simple customer proposal example. It's completely logical. It makes complete sense. The secret is to using this deliberately. Again, you could use AI to speed up things. You can use AI to do a lot of things a lot faster. You can even learn how to prompt to prompt and train AI to sound a lot more like you than just another machine or just using the normal buzzwords. However, that is when you start offloading the heavy-duty thinking tasks you should be doing. Again, the co-founder or the founder that I work with, he's an experienced software developer. AI has been a hugely disruptive force on how they used to build businesses. He has embraced it and has learned himself some discipline around where he fits in the process versus where AI fits in the process. You need to have a distinct and deliberate distinction of what is your role, what is the role of AI and the place of AI, and how that fits into your manifesto. If you have that in place, then it will help you ignore, in many ways, the ongoing AI noise and hype. It will help you focus on what really matters and what helps you launch and build your business in the first 60 days. And it will provide you with the confidence that if anybody asks you or queries or wants to know how you work with AI, that you can present how you work as the owner of your business, the brand and the voice, how you have embraced it responsibly, ethically, and smartly. So it's not just saying it, it's making it yours and showing it. Okay. So once you've got that in place, so that's the big picture foundation. That's the AI structure, discipline that you need to have and make sure that you maintain and make sure that becomes part of your thinking. Now, what tech stack do you need to start your business? Now, that sounds awfully complicated. And if you're not comfortable with developing or understanding how to develop a website or even using some of the AI tools, it can feel intimidating. It's not. And I'll take you through why. First thing first is I'm listing a whole list of applications on this slide. You can make do with most of them with their free versions. You don't need to pay for anything of them. Only when you start getting familiar with one of them and you want to use them in more depth do you have to pay a subscription. But otherwise, most of these do not require a subscription at all, or it's maybe $4 or $5 a month. So that's the first thing you need to understand. The second thing is you can't break any of these. So you can play with it, learn yourself, do with it whatever you want to help you fulfill your four priorities and to help you build your business. So the first thing first is that when it comes to developing your strategy, brainstorming, thinking with you, coming up with ideas. Everybody knows ChatGPT, but there's also Claude and there's also DeepSeek. Now, DeepSeek is a Chinese model, but at this stage, you can decide yourself, is the American model a worse option than a Chinese model? Bottom line is the kind of level of work that you're going to do. It's not going to matter which model you use. You need to figure out which one gives you the best answers and which one you feel most comfortable using with. As an example, I use all three, but I only pay for one. I pay for ChatGPT, $20 a month. I use it heavy for research, deep research, etc., etc., etc. I use Claude and DeepSeek as a backup. Sometimes I will use DeepSeek's input, sometimes I will use Claude input, sometimes it's a combination of both. But having all three of them is kind of having three brainstorming partners that looks at your same question and prompt slightly different. it can be a very valuable tool. However, if you don't use this within the structure of your 4 priorities and a few more things we're going to go through, you're going to get lost in just strategizing and brainstorming and not getting anything done. The next thing is in terms of researching your market now, a year ago, market research was primarily done by Google. It would take me or my customers or people that I know weeks or months to get to the research or the insights that you can now get within a few minutes using a large language model. The one tool that you can use, and I use it for free, is called Perplexity. Not sure if you're familiar with it, perplexity.ai. It's a kind of combination of a Google and a large language model. It is super. If you ask it to do research, it also gives you the references of where the research comes from. In terms of design, now the first thing is in your first 60 days, you need to have some kind of design. But in the first 60 days, it's far more important in what you say and how you structure your engagement, we'll come to that, than how you look. So in terms of your design, you can use Canva or Gamma, and that gives you the brand and the visuals that you want to start with. If you cannot use any of these, you can find folks that will help you do a brand or a visual if you need any of that for a very small part, for a very small fee, because they use the tools. You will need a website, not a Facebook page only. However, and there's 2 tools you can use, Wix AI or Framer. Now, instead of you worrying in terms of what to put, okay, let me just take a step back. You don't have to know how to develop a website, and you don't need a website in the first 60 days. You need a landing page. A landing page is one single page that scrolls down. It's got a specific call to action button. We're going to come to that in the next few slides. You don't have to know how to use Wix or AI Framer. If you do, fantastic, but you don't have to. You can use ChatGPT or Claude or DeepSeek once you've got your ducks in a row to say, please write my landing page or please develop my one-page landing page. This is my business name. This is my business idea. This is what I do. Please provide my landing page structure in headings, subheadings, content, and hero sections. And it will write it for you in a few seconds. But remember, your AI manifesto and human in the loop, you then need to work through that and make it your own, but the structure is in place. All you need to do then is take that structure, copy paste it into the Wix AI or Framer builder, and it will build a website. If that doesn't work, you can get somebody to use that same document and build it for you again, maybe for $200, $300, and it will look super professional. But you need a landing page. I'll come to that why you need it. You also need to have a newsletter. And you also need to have some kind of CRM. Now, all of you would have been familiar with strategy, market design, and website. Why do you need a newsletter, and why do you need a CRM? Now, let's first just take a step back on newsletter. All of us knows how we feel about getting unwanted newsletters into our mailbox. That's not what this is about. We're also not expecting that any of you need to turn into content developers or writing super smart or super creative articles. This is not what it's about. You need a newsletter to be able for large language models to start finding you. Let me explain this a little bit. A normal website, social media, etc., is built around search engine optimization, certain keywords and phrases that helps people find your business. AI builds that into your landing page and things like that, but it's a different way of searching. Large language models search in a different way. It looks for answers and it looks for knowledge. So your newsletter is not a newsletter the way you think about it. It's a newsletter that talks about the problem that you help solve for people. It's about what it is that you do. So as an example, one founder that I work with has developed a competitor analysis and a go-to-market tool. He's in his first 60 days kind of phase. He's not a content developer. He's definitely not a newsletter writer either. However, he's got 120 newsletter subscribers, not because he develops creative newsletters, but because he writes about the problem that he's solving and how is he solving it. And by doing that, he creates a certain knowledge base around what he is and why he's doing what he's doing. So you need a newsletter if you want to share the knowledge that you have, talk about the problem that you solve, get people to engage, vice versa, learn why people engage with you, and to be able to start building a future-proof business that will feature on a website and that will on a Google search and on a large language model search. Start writing in your first 60 days. I started writing about a year ago. I enjoy doing it. Does it frustrate me? Yes. Is it something that I had to learn? Absolutely. Is it something that AI can do way quicker? Yes. If I use AI, do I lose trust and credibility? Big time. I need to write it myself. So your newsletter is not the way you understand a newsletter. It's a communication tool that you use to explain to people what you are all about. What's the problem that you are solving? Everybody good so far?
We have
Now,
one question from Ellen who's asking, does this newsletter back issues then live on website?
so Ellen, the newsletter doesn't live on, it can live on your website, but it doesn't have to. So what we normally suggest that people do is that they combine their newsletter with a kind of CRM tool. Now, I need to say that very carefully because there's one platform that does that, and I'm not here to sell any platform. So your newsletter ideally sits on a platform like Beehive, Ghost, Substack, or LinkedIn, or a website builder like Framer, which AI doesn't do it, that allows you to do what is called CMS. It's a specific function. The bottom line is, Ellen, is if you talk to somebody or you develop your one-page landing page, make sure that it links up to a newsletter platform or that it can accommodate a newsletter so that you can show your newsletters on your landing page, but there's also a separate app where it sits.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Yes. So as an example, Ellen, when you scroll down your one page, there's three little call to action buttons, that you can click on. Each of them takes them to them subscribing to your newsletter. Not just contacting you, but also subscribe. I'll get to that now in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
But a newsletter is now, with large language models, one of your primary marketing and sales outreach tools.
Thanks.
Yes, another question. Helen? Ah, all good. Okay.
Uh,
So, yeah,
we
sorry,
have,
Aidan.
yeah, we have another
Well,
question in the chat from Tina.
yeah,
Oh,
I'll
do you
do
want to go ahead?
Tina. So,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
yes, Tina.
So, so my question is if the, website design hero section or whatever
Yes.
explains the problem I'm trying to solve, my social media content will showcase examples and how I solve that problem, then isn't the newsletter just like always like repeating itself? Like I just feel for my content, I would just be saying the same thing over and over again. Like if they follow me on LinkedIn, then I'm creating the same thing in a newsletter. Like how do I wrap my head around it?
It's a very, very good question. So it is the same, well, it's the same message or components of the same message. However, the way people find it is different. So social media works the same way as search engine optimization. It's based on algorithms and that helps people find you. It doesn't convey language, it doesn't convey knowledge, and it doesn't convey insight, and it doesn't convey long form, a newsletter, which could be just a 30-second read, but it doesn't convey it in the same way as what you would do in using a newsletter. So as an example, Tina, and I'm going to spend time on this. As an example, one of the friends that I have that's building his app, the founder, is he would use HubSpot, and you can lose it HubSpot. HubSpot is a CRM,
Yes.
and it's got a free version. Now, what he's done is he's built his landing page, his one-page landing page on HubSpot. HubSpot's got a template for that. Secondly, there's a button on that when they click on it, it takes them to a newsletter that's also built on HubSpot. And then that feeds back into your customer data. That's one way of doing it. But as I said, I'm not here to promote HubSpot. For myself, what I use for my own business, I use Substack for my newsletter because it's free. And I have my website that shows my Substack newsletters, but also links people to my Substack. I don't make use of social media except LinkedIn, and he doesn't make use of social media except LinkedIn as well. However, if social media is part of what you do, so let's say, Tina, your social media post, Instagram post, has a simple 2 or 3 message sentence, call out, because neither Facebook nor Instagram lends itself to more of a long form content. But let's say your title is tired of, and I'm going to just spitball here, please, I'm going to be an awful example. Your Instagram post might say, are you tired of the normal bookkeeping engagements where you only hear from your bookkeeper once a month? Question mark, get in touch. Your newsletter content will say that more and more businesses are getting tired of bookkeepers because the bookkeeper's role is getting a little bit more tactically important than just an administrative function, which is why we've developed this and this is what we've learned. And you can see how it fits into each other, but it's the same message, but different format.
Okay.
And it tells people more about who you are, what you really are, what's under the hood. So now again, think carefully about my previous slides where I talked about cognitive offloading.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and Facebook is built to deliver on low energy tasks. It's about getting your attention with a singular simple message that you probably find by scrolling through, or you don't have to think about. It's something that's there to catch your attention. Correct? A newsletter, the longer format, is actually the heavy duty task that shows people how you think. Got it?
Yes, okay, I understand that. Yeah, thank you.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Right, because Instagram is just that 2 second
Correct.
grab your attention, and then if they want to learn more,
Correct.
then the newsletter will explain that. Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
So what's beginning to happen, and you would have all heard this, is that you're not just talking about building a customer base. You're building, and you're building a community, but please, not a movement. Don't ever use that word. You're building a community of people that has the shared problem. Yes, Tina. Tina, I think you wanted to ask something.
No, sorry, I was just coughing and I was talking.
Okay,
Sorry.
that happens to me as well. So what you
I was
want to
trying to find the
do,
mute button. I was like,
so what you want to do is you want to start building a little bit of a community of same thinking people around what you do. As an example, and I'm going to use an example. Somebody that I know is starting a little AI app that'll help you analyze your dreams. Sounds like a very esoteric kind of wishy-loosey idea. He's got 300,000 followers on a Reddit community. Reddit allows you to have newsletter kind of messaging and communications with your customers or prospects. It's not just short little notes that catches people's attention and is there to create a reaction. Your newsletter, and this is why I say newsletter in brackets, it's not just thought leadership, which is also not kind of really the thing that you're looking for. It's to educate people about the problem that you're solving. Why are you solving it? Why are people using it? And what are you learning from it? Now, very interesting is when we ask people at starting up their businesses, or a core part of what you need to do when you start up your businesses, is you need to define your ideal customer profile, your ICP. Ask any startup founder, owner, do you have an ICP? Yes, we do. Start digging a little bit deeper? No, they don't. Simply because it's easy to get confused between what an ICP is, what a customer profile is, and what a persona is. And then in many cases, people will present to us their IT-generated personas for what they do, and they would do so proudly. This is not what this is about. An ICP is actually a pretty heavy lifting thinking job. It's not just a simple statement of what it is. I'm going to give you an example. The kind of stuff that I do in my business is I can easily say that my ICP is, and I'm just going to use an example, is a value-added processing business that needs growth capital for their next expansion. But that doesn't help. That's too broad and too vague. However, my ICP is same industry, but it's with companies that is owner driven, has a bookkeeper, permanent bookkeeper, but not a financial controller or a CFO, have somebody that does marketing on the side of their desk and is personally involved in driving customers. In engaging with customers, not selling, customer relationships. That is an ICP. It's very specific. So when you look at your business, your target market, whoever you aim this at, you need to be very clear in terms of who they are, why they need you, when are they ready to buy? Tricky question. And you can only learn that by by building this learning loop that we're going to talk about. What are they already using and what's stopping them from using you? If you need to spend time on something in your first 60 days, this is your source code that will feed straight into how effective AI helps you, looks at your prompts, begin to understand who you are, begin to understand what you're trying to do. It's essential to really work on this. I know experienced founders that takes 8 months, and they know their stuff. It takes 8 months to get to that ICP that clicks. You need to start working this on 60 days and get as close as you can. That's what they all do. But sometimes you need to work through it and through it to get to that real ICP that works. Now, how do you find your first customer? Of course, you're going to cold call, you're going to make calls, you're going to talk to people that you know, you're going to network, you're going to reach out to people, etc., etc., etc. However, the first thing that you need to do is you need to create a minimum viable product landing page. What do we mean by that? One-page website, as best as you can describe your business, doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to speak directly to the ICP that you think you're targeting. And it has one path, one goal, and one call to action for that specific audience. Use AI to develop your wireframe. So as an example, I can say to people on this one-page landing page, do you need funding to grow your business? Talk to me. Button. Or I can say, do you own a business that's growing? Do you have a bookkeeper? Do you have this? Then I can fill that gap between this and that to help you. You can see how the message changes. That's one path, one goal, one audience, and one button. So now when they click a button, it's not just clicking a button to connect with me. It's clicking a button because what I've told them resonates with where they are and what they need. They want to talk to me. Step 2, you need to launch a problem validation newsletter. Do you remember your previous question? What do you write about this newsletter? Is how you need to tell people what problem you solve and how you solve it. It provides genuine value on the problems that you solve, and it's your lead generation engine. You can use LinkedIn. As I said, I've got different platforms. You can also put it on your one-page landing page. The most important thing is you need to have a discipline of writing this weekly. Execute a personal micro outreach using your network, LinkedIn, or social media. Excuse me. AI can write your connection requests. When you start engaging with people, learn, log your conversations, you all know how to do this nowadays with the tools that's available. Start analyzing the messages. Use that to revisit and refine your ICP. So what do I mean by that? Every time you connect with somebody or somebody connects with you and you have a call, make sure that that call gets transcribed with their permission. In your CRM or your Google Sheet, where that contact's name is, list call made, provide a link to the transcript and the next step. So what will happen is after you've done 10 calls, all transcribed, all talking about the same subject matter, what you are doing and how you help solving a problem, the people that you talk to will be slightly different because it's still early in the business. You then dump those 10 transcripts and you ask AI or ChatGPT what patterns is becoming visible and what messaging is becoming visible. So now what you do is you start providing AI the data, the transcripts, and please make sure that the transcripts excludes any names or contact details or anything like that. It's entirely possible to do. I normally start transcribing after the first few minutes of introductions and things like that. And then as you start making more calls, you start learning about what's beginning to resonate, what's not resonating, what are you hearing, what is AI seeing, and you start building on those first customers, you start building a learning loop. So what do we mean by that? Your first outreach, when you start your business, is, let's say you talk to 20 people or you email 20 people and you end up talking to 10 of them, or you end up talking to 2 of them. You're going to start learning why you reached out to 20, but only a few responded. Based on your transcripts, your insights, your learning, you revise your messaging, you reach out to another 20. Online, LinkedIn, emails, events, however you want to do that. Because you've now refined your messaging based on your initial learnings, you would expect that out of that next 20, maybe 8 or 10 respond. So now you're getting closer to what works, what resonates, what doesn't work, what messaging works, what are they really looking for, what is really resonating. That helps you refine your ICP. What is it that really matters for them, and who are they that it really matters to? And then your third loop that AI helps you develop is a conversion loop, where you simply improve your close rate by going through this iterative process of learning, testing, validating, looking at patterns, understanding messaging, and getting closer to a point where people want to talk to you. Again, another founder that I work with is she developed a very interesting app. First thoughts were that your small to medium-sized companies would be the perfect organizations to talk to, because by using her app, they will be able to save them, those companies will be able to save themselves $1,500, $2,000 per month. It sounded compelling. She thought it was compelling. She started reaching out to her first customers, contacts, friends, network, cold call. After the first 15 calls, she realized that it doesn't matter if it's a problem or not. The biggest challenge is that those business owners trust the service providers that they're dealing with, because those service providers still have a perception of being the knowledge leaders and the people that has the expertise to do this. So, in terms of the pattern loop, she then had to go and refine her messaging and say, this is not about replacing or saying that we can do the same for a cheaper rate. This is what we're actually doing that gives you more value. So instead of telling owners you can get the same for a 20th of what you pay per month and actually get more, that didn't resonate. She had to flip the language and say, we will give you so much more value than what you're currently getting, more insight, more intelligence, more actionable insight. That was what she started leading with. And the fact that this could be done cheaper came secondary. That's part of the pattern loop refining loop, and her conversion started increasing. So this is how this works in the first 60 days. Now, you can take a hack at this, talk to people, make some notes, try and figure it out. Will you eventually get to your ICP and that message that really helps you build your sales funnel pipeline? Maybe. But if you follow the process that we've explained in this webinar, it will take you less time, cost you less in energy and resources, and get you there a lot quicker. So, the last two slides, in terms of what you need at the end of 60 days, you need two systems. First system is, how do you capture your leads and how do you nurture them? The practical way of doing this, primary landing page, as I said, that single page, email newsletter, a lead magnet, it's a valuable piece of content. So as an example, Tina, I don't know what your idea is, but as an example, your lead magnet could be, here's a free assessment to see where you stand, or here's a free assessment to understand what your real challenge is, or here's a checklist that you can use in your business. That's a lead magnet. Why is this system critical? If you can get your landing page, your call to action, your newsletter set up correctly, it runs 24/7. It's not just about you reaching out to people, people can also find you. It's not about you contacting people one by one. You can post it on LinkedIn or Instagram or social media and say, if you want to find out more, here it is. Or here's a case study of what I've done. Or this is why I'm doing this as an additional link. It runs. You don't have to push it and manage it. That's the first system. And the second system you need in your 60 days is your deal management and follow-up system. As an example, an entrepreneur I'm working with, he's been at it for close to a year. He's got his first 5 paying customers on board. He's now got, he called me 3 days ago. He says, Werner, this is beginning to build up momentum. What do I do if 100 people suddenly express interest in what I do? How do I manage this? And this is where your deal management and follow-up system comes in. You don't know how fast your business is going to take off or how slow your business is going to take off, but you need to have this ready. A simple CRM. It's simply having all your customer data in one spot versus having some of QuickBooks, some on your e-commerce site, Shopify site, some on Square, wherever. CRM have it all together. That CRM needs to show who is where in terms of your sales pipeline. Based on what you've seen in this webinar, the secret is to build up a follow-up habit, a disciplined process for logging notes after conversations and scheduling the next action directly. You'll be surprised how quickly you forget what was discussed 3 conversations ago with a customer versus what you discussed today. Keeping notes, putting it onto CRM, using AI will reduce that time wasted. And why is it critical to have this system in place? It prevents you from relying on memory, provides a clear view of your business health, and ensures no potential customer is ever forgotten. So, to conclude, it's a lot I discussed, and I took you through a lot in 1 hour. It's about, in the first 60 days, it's about using AI as your co-pilot, not your autopilot. It helps you navigate the data, but you must still command the strategy. What I want you to take away from this webinar is a few things. The 4 priorities. It doesn't matter who you are, what your business is, what you feel comfortable with or not, those 4 priorities will be exactly the same for the first 60 days. It doesn't matter how you plan or where to plan or at what level you plan to use your AI in helping you with this. An AI manifesto and understanding how you feature and work with AI, human in the loop, will provide you with a great sense of clarity and a solid basis to work with confidence instead of instead of worrying and stressing about how you're going to keep up with what seems to be happening. The third thing is you will need that tech stack in one way or the other. Change your thinking around what a newsletter is. As I said, Substack is for free. Start writing on Substack. It's very easy. Start exploring it, see what comes back. Start writing on LinkedIn. When you do a post on Instagram or Facebook, provide a link to something that you wrote. But you need to start conveying more than just low skill, low task, social media, algorithm-driven engagement. People are beginning to look for something more, and you need to incorporate that in whatever you do, however you're comfortable with. It's not the easiest of things, but it's a skill that is already essential. Last comment is you do need these two systems, your lead generation and your nurturing system. It sounds very familiar, folks. You would hear that in different ways from just about everybody else. However, the way that you've built up towards this in this webinar is a practical way of actually to get things done. Not just to believe that it's working or to think that it's working, to actually show you that it's working. Let me give you one final example. If you post something on Instagram or Facebook, the best kind of insights you can get is the social media analytics that's provided by Meta, or Facebook and Instagram. It doesn't tell you why they connected with it. It doesn't tell you who they are. It doesn't provide you any insight in terms of what you can learn from them. It's simply a data point of reach, engagement, conversion. Your newsletter, single path, single call to action, provides you the ability to know what kind of audience is beginning to respond to your messaging. Far greater insight and clarity in terms of who's responding. Because you have far greater insight and can see who's responding to your newsletter, you can try different messaging in your newsletter to see who responds better and why. You can connect data points much, much, much better than what you can do with a social media post, a Facebook post, or just a blog post. So I can talk about this for a lot longer, but we're over time already. I thank you for your patience. Again, if any of you wants to talk to me about this in more depth, have a lot more questions, want to really hone in, I do this because I love doing it, and feel free to reach out anytime via Seed, via Leveling It Up or Gucci. It does not matter. I will talk to you as many times as needed to help you get to the answers that you're looking for. Okay? Cool. Any questions? Aiden?